and welcome to your regularly scheduled Ways and Means Committee meeting. I'm the Vice Chair, Steve Fletcher. Councilmember Warsame is unable to attend, so I'll be chairing the meeting today. I'm joined on the dais by Councilmember Johnson, Councilmember Palmisano, and Councilmember Jenkins. We are a quorum of the committee and can conduct committee business. We have 25 consent items and then one discussion item, so we'll start with the consent items. Any of my colleagues may pull these for discussion if you so choose. Item number 1 is a legal settlement with Clifford Johnson versus the City of Minneapolis. Item number 2 is another legal settlement. Item number 3 is the local government amicus brief in Columbus v. Trump. We're standing up for the Affordable Care Act. Item number 4 is a bid for the public service building project for painting. Item number 5 is a contract amendment with Danny's Construction for structural steel installation for the public service building. Item number 6 is a contract amendment with Knutson Construction Services for concrete superstructure for the public service building project. Item number 7 is a contract amendment for structural steel for the public service building project. Item number 8 is a contract amendment for electrical work for a public service building project. Item number 9 is an increase in the scope of mechanical work for a public service building project. Item number 10 is gift acceptance from Field Regina Northrop Neighborhood Group for donation of a public safety security camera. Item number 11 is a contract amendment with Employ Milwaukee for information technology, employment, and training services. Item number 12 is the Capri Theater expansion project, authorizing a $700,000 Great Streets loan to Plymouth Christian Youth Center. Item number 13 is the 2019 Consolidated Plan Action Plan, and we are going to move an amendment to that, which you should have with you, included in your packet. And the reason for the amendment is because we received more money than we were expecting, and so we're going to distribute the additional money across 3 projects. So we've added item number 6, which is passage of a resolution amending the 2019 General Appropriation Resolution by increasing the amount for lead reduction by $244,000, multifamily affordable housing by $500,000, and homeownership support and development program by $61,720. So I'll move that with the amendment. Item 14 is the Housing Replacement District 4 Tax Increment Financing Plan. Item 15 is the 2019 Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS Request for Proposals. Item number 16 is a contract amendment with Bridge Healthcare Partners, LLC, for the Health Department's school-based clinic program. Item number 17 is a transfer of 2019 Sustainability Franchise Fee funds to the Community Planning and Economic Development Department to support the development of passive housing. Item number 18 is the transfer of 2019 Sustainability Franchise Fee funds to the Health Department for Green Cost Share and Urban Trees programs. Item number 19 is the temporary easement agreements for the McNair Avenue North Sanitary Reconstruction Project. Item number 20 is the biennial agreement with State of Minnesota Department of Transportation for routine maintenance. Item number 21 is an agreement with the Minnesota Department of Transportation for utility relocation. Item number 22 is the pedestrian street lighting corridor amendment to the street lighting plan, contract amendment and reimbursement from the Minnesota Ballpark Authority. Item number 23 is the bid for 28th Avenue South Bridge Replacement Project. Item number 24 is a bid for 2019 Concrete Pavement Rehabilitation Project in the Waite Park neighborhood. And item number 25 is accepting the sole bid for catch basin and manhole repairs. Would any of my colleagues like to pull any of these items for discussion? Vice President Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to get a little more information about item number 11, contract amendment with Employ Milwaukee.
Are there any staff present who can speak to item number 11? Or would you like to elaborate on the information you're looking for?
Yeah, I'm really trying to understand what the initial contract is for. Not sure if I employ Milwaukee. Shouldn't we be employing Minneapolis?
Mr. Endemol.
So, Mr. Chair, Council Vice President, I have a little bit of information on this item from our agenda setting meeting. this is going through community planning and economic development. So this is just an expansion of the existing MPLS Tech Hire program, where the Employed Milwaukee Corporation is sending us dollars. So I agree, it's Milwaukee is a little bit confusing as we are Minneapolis, but that's my understanding of the program, and I have now exhausted my knowledge on the topic.
I'm sorry, to be clear, did you say they are sending us dollars?
That's correct.
So are we providing training to them, or are they providing training to our staff, do you know?
So this appears to be listed on the agenda as us authorizing an increase in our expenditures and a resolution approving the appropriation of funds. So I believe we're paying them for workforce development is my understanding from the agenda setting.
Okay.
And that despite their name, I imagine that they're doing the training in Minneapolis.
Got it. Okay, thanks. I will pursue more information with CPAC.
Okay. Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have a question, and without our CFO here, I'm hoping that Mr. Indermill might help. In regards to item 13, it's actually, my specific question is about the resolution underneath it from Councilmember Orsami, who's not here. I appreciate that we received more CDBG money than we were expecting or anticipating, but I'm curious what led to these specific funds to add these specific amounts of money to, and who made those decisions. I know that CDBG money is very tightly regulated. There's a lot of requirements on that money, but I'm just looking to see how we came up with this as the proposal to best use it.
Director Indermill.
So, Mr. Chair and Councilmember Palmisano, when the notice of award was received by the city, the mayor's office, in consultation with council, put out a call to existing departments that receive CDBG funds to see if and how the dollars could be, the additional increment could be put to use in 2019. And so the health department and community planning and economic development responded to that call from the mayor's office and Councilmember Gordon, as the CDBG program lives under the jurisdiction of Housing Policy and Development. So they sent that email out to departments. Departments responded with that information, and then this determination was made by those policymakers.
Okay, I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, I'll move the consent agenda with the amendment to item number 13. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? That carries, and we will move on to our discussion item. Contracts with Mad Dads, Hennepin Theater Trust, St. Stephen's Human Services, and Green Minneapolis for downtown violence prevention. Ms. Cotton.
Good afternoon, Council Chair and Council members. Thank you all for having us. We are here to talk a little bit about the Office of Violence Prevention Fund and the agencies that have been selected to receive funding for the downtown allocations. So give me just one moment to open up a brief presentation. So the budget for 2019 included allocations for the OVP as well as the OVP fund, the Office of Violence Prevention Fund. And the language is here that the fund was to be community-led strategies, and that $150,000 of those funds that were allocated should be going directly to downtown programming. So the health department, in consultation with other community stakeholders, developed an RCA, a request for application, that went out, and the details are delineated here. A request for application, or an RFA, was developed in the health department and went out in early April. Thank you, Erin. And the applications were due April 9th and went out April 9th and were due on April 29th. Applications were reviewed and received. One internal review panel, which consisted primarily of health department staff, was conducted, as well as 3 from stakeholders across the city and the community. We really felt like it was important to get input from folks outside of just the city. And then 5 applications were selected to be funded, 4 of which are coming from the health department's OBP, and 1 is coming from an existing relationship with the police department and that agency, and that's A Mother's Love. So these are the applications that were selected for funding. A Mother's Love, which has an existing relationship with the police department, and we received the application, felt like the work that they were doing was really stellar. Unfortunately, with the limited resources, we weren't able to fund all of the applications that we wanted to, but in consultation with the chief and other leadership in MPD, they did feel like they would be able to cover the cost for the outreach services that A Mother's Love will be doing. The other agencies are Green Minneapolis, the Hennepin Theater Trust, St. Stephen's, and Mad Dad's. And we are joined here by a few representatives from those agencies who will get a chance to talk about their project work shortly. So A Mother's Love proposes to do outreach. These are just some brief overviews of the services that each of these agencies is able to provide. They propose to do work during June to September, focused on engaging young people, particularly young women in the downtown community, late night in outreach. They've requested $50,000, and again, those funds would be secured through MPD. The Green Minneapolis project is another one that we're looking to fund, and it's a very exciting project because it does look at a partnership with Green Minneapolis and the YCB and looks at doing surveys to figure out what young people would like to do in this space at the Commons, and then going about actually implementing the things that are suggested by young people. So we feel like that has a very community-driven strategy and are looking forward to what they might be able to do. The requested amount is $25,754.25. The next one is the Hennepin Theater Trust, and we will hear shortly from leadership within that organization, but they're looking to do sort of pop-up art installations and a variety of convenings with folks who are using shelter services in that district. So again, feeling like it's very much tapping into the community that is in and around the Hennepin Trust area, and utilizing those folks who are highly mobile to get insight about the kinds of services and installations that they would be most interested in. Mad Dad's, another organization that I'm sure we're all familiar with and who is here to talk about what they would be able to do, will provide their own unique version of outreach, which they've been doing in downtown Minneapolis for many years, focused on violence prevention and de-escalation and engaging with young people and adults who are at high risk of being involved with gang cliques or other forms of violence. Their request is for $50,000 as well, which was the cap. And then the last one is St. Stephen's, who will focus on homeless outreach for populations 18 to 24. They've been in the business for a long time and have proven to have high-quality outreach services and mobile case management for young people who are highly mobile or homeless. And at this time, I'd like to bring Joan up from the Hennepin Theater Trust to talk a little bit more about the installation that they would like to do. Joan, would you join me at the podium, please?
Hi, thank you, Councilmember Chair and council members. I'm excited to be here to tell you briefly a little bit about the way that this funding will positively affect the Hennepin Theater District. It's our 4th year of 5 to 10 on Hennepin, which is a live concert series that we do in partnership with Mad Dad's Culture Club, Youth Link, and the Harbor Light Shelter. We started out this programming back in 2016 as a way to activate the Hennepin Theater District and surface parking lots for having a lack of common space in that area. And we found very quickly that we really were playing a significant role in public safety that we didn't really know a lot about at the time. And since then, we've really developed very strong partnerships, working intentionally to participatorily design our program with youth and adults who are experiencing homelessness. So doing visioning sessions with folks at Harbor Light and at Youth Link, and really allowing the kids at Youth Link to take our mobile stage and to do spoken word and other types of entertainment, but also select all of the offerings that we do. We partner with 10 different community and human service organizations to provide takeaways in real time. We also provide food and refreshments and games and just a lot of free offerings. In addition to that, we put chess and buskers in partnership with the DID out on Hennepin Avenue regularly during the week. And we also partner with Mad Dads to just help us monitor the chests and patrol the area and just really work with folks and pass out food and water and information. We are also partnering with Latunji Abrams, who's been curating a program called Lit Voices. So we're really excited that this funding will help us expand that programming to make a bridge between what we're offering in public realm and our platform within Hennepin Theater Trust and our lounges there, to partner with Culture Club and bring some of those kids who might be learning the craft to actually be a part of a headlining act that's free and open to the public. So we're really excited to develop that program furthermore. We're really excited to amplify the work that the Trust has done in partnership with Minneapolis Police Department, the DID, and all of our community partners, and really excited for this to be a great summer. Thank you.
Thank you.
And at this time, I would ask Mr. VJ Smith to come and talk a little bit about Mad Dads and the services that they would offer. Is there a question?
Before that, we do have a question from Council Vice President Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. I'm not sure if I have a question as much as I would just want to make a comment about particularly Youth Link, and I think one of the partners that was mentioned was the, oh boy.
Harbor Lights?
Harbor Lights, Youth Coordinating Board, Culture Club is the group that I'm thinking of. I actually, in 2015, was a mentor with Culture Club. They have artist mentors to come in and work with homeless or formerly homeless young people. And just this past weekend, I attended Youth Pride in Loring Park and was really just encouraged to see some of the mentees that I had worked with back in 2015 taking leadership roles in the community. They helped to organize this event at Loring Park. They were performing. And I know that a lot of that sort of leadership potential was nurtured through their activities with Hennepin Theater Trust and more broadly Youth Link. And also I would comment that earlier this year I was able to attend a performance that was put on, a collaboration, I would say, with Hennepin Theater Trust and Harbor Lights of currently homeless people. And they presented an amazing production of what home means, how their lives, the circumstances in their lives that led to many of them becoming homeless, which was divergent from a lot of the reasons why we think people become homeless. A lot of it was medical issues, family circumstances, deaths in the family that were beyond people's control, and subsequently they became homeless. And Hennepin Theater Trust, which is an amazing organization in and of itself that is really providing high quality theater experiences in our community, but they go beyond that and work with the young people in the area that many have expressed concern about, is in terms of public safety and so forth. And I'm just really thrilled at the work that Hennepin Theater Trust is doing to create opportunities for these young people, but as well as creating, I think, more street life on Hennepin Avenue, more opportunities for people to engage with resources that could be helpful for them. And the partnership with Mad Dads, I think, is really invaluable. And I think we're going to be hearing from VJ Smith, long-term collaborator, who is going to speak to Mad Dads. Thank you.
Thank you for the question and comment. If there are no further questions at this time, I would like to bring the Executive Director of Mad Dads, Mr. Smith, up to the podium to talk a little bit about their work.
Welcome, Mr. Smith.
Thank you very much, Chair and council members. Thank you for allowing me to speak. You know, Mad Dads has been excited about working downtown because we understand two things, that our young people are looking for a solution, and not always can the police be that solution. We've been able to do that, and not only have we been able to partner now that we have two wonderful ladies that are at the forefront of saying, how do we bring theater, but how do we bring other resources with the GVI, and how do we all partner together to make this a partnership, a true partnership. So when we start talking about the homeless, the disadvantaged, the drug addicts, the criminals, all those entities have a place, and we've been able to work around that with our relationships through the jails. Matter of fact, I'll be going to the jail when I leave here, because that's important. When we're out on the streets, we need to have relationships with those people that are incarcerated or formerly incarcerated, so we can get them on the right track and get them in the right position they need to be in. So we believe that being downtown, with the historical 20 years of relationships with these individuals, we're able to get them in the right direction. Not only do we save law enforcement money, but we solve a lot of the interactions that have to happen that don't have to happen. And so we can intervene and say, look, calm down. I think just this week alone, we de-escalated about 25 fights that were about to happen in downtown Minneapolis. That's the kind of work that we can do. Not only can we de-escalate, but we can give them resources to get them to where they need to go to deal with their anger or homelessness or whatever they're dealing with. We sign them up through our program, and then at our office, we call them and get them directed in the right way. So when they're not high or when they're not intoxicated, they know where to go. We give them a call and intervene on that program through programs and services. So we're excited. We know that the work we do is about doing what we've always done, but doing it better with a partnership that makes sense. And so these partnerships have been built over years, and they definitely make sense for us to continue to do this work. So we're excited about it.
Thank you. Council Vice President Jenkins, did you have more?
Thank you. Chair Fletcher, I was just curious, what's the connection of Youth Link? I know it was mentioned in Culture Club and all those. Are they going to have a role in this collaboration work along Hennepin Avenue too?
So thank you for the question, Councilmember Jenkins. There's a two-pronged answer to that question. One is that YouthLink did apply for general funding through this opportunity, and because of the scope, we were not able to fund them fully, but they are working in partnership with the Hennepin Trust, and I would defer to Joan to answer questions about their specific role.
Okay.
If you wouldn't mind coming and talking a bit more about that.
Thank you. So Culture Club Collaborative has been our partner now. This will be our 4th season. We work in close partnership to have the youth, give them visioning session time to really, they make the decision about what the theme will be for each month, what the offerings will be. Their program now has been set up so that they basically have a rehearsal night, and anyone who signs up and attends the rehearsal night gets the opportunity to perform on our mobile stage, and everyone is paid. So that's really exciting. And then we also submit a payment to Culture Club for administrative fees just for them to facilitate all of that work. So I would say that is kind of the bulk of the relationship and the contract that we're extending. They're really the main feature when it comes to entertainment. One of the things that we found was that when the youth are able to make all of the decisions about what 5 to 10 literally is and what that vibe is, that they do a really incredible job kind of maintaining the peace on their own. And when sometimes when there's some words that fly or some things that spark up, they are able to really navigate in many ways their own, because it's a exciting paying gig that they look forward to all year round. We've had some really amazing testimonials from some of the youth saying that, in the dead of winter when they're, going through some really hard times, that they think about the fact that 5 to 10 is coming back again, and that they get to get back up on that stage and sing their life, it kind of helps them get through the dark days of winter. And so we didn't expect that as an outcome, but we're really excited that they feel, sincerely an authentic sense of ownership. So working closely with Culture Club. I will say that in years past, we had Culture Club really doing more of the administrative work to really book all of the bands and work with them on their tech needs. And we found that just wasn't the best use of their capacity, that Hennepin Theater Trust can do that. They can tell us what they want, and we can facilitate that. And it's a more efficient use of everybody's time with the capacity that they have to work with their youth, and that their time is best spent really focusing on youth work and making sure that everyone's getting an opportunity to get up on the stage and also being present at each event. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think my questions are mostly for Ms. Cotton. I don't understand, to get to the Council Vice President's point of, wouldn't YouthLink be a very direct partner in some of this money? You specifically answered her saying that they weren't providing something in scope. So could you help me, because I clearly then didn't understand from the beginning of the slides, what was the scope of this money, and how would a place that provides direct housing to homeless young people not fit the scope of something that we're trying to do here?
Thank you for the question. The strategies that we were looking at and the scope of service, the way that the RCA and the language from council were written, were really about community-driven strategies, sort of getting at larger populations in the downtown community. And what we heard from YouthLink's application, and I'm happy to share their full application if you'd like to see it, was really more about nuclear services that they're already currently offering and filling some existing gaps that they had. We received, I believe, 19 applications. I'm sorry, I did not put it on here, but I believe 19 applications were received for the downtown fund, and we simply weren't able to fund everyone that applied. And so we had to use the review process and try to come up with the scores that met the broadest reach based on the way the RCA was written, the RFA was written, and the scores from community and city employees.
So if I may, I'm not here to re-engineer somebody's decisions, but I'm curious who helped to develop the criteria in that RFA, because while I certainly appreciate that dispersing a small number of funds over 19 applications that might generally be doing this kind of work downtown, that might not be the most impactful or effective. But could you help me understand the criteria then that ended up in the RFA, and who determined that criteria? Was that people, policymakers, people that are currently in the Office of Violence Prevention?
So I'd like to grab a copy of the RFA so I can tell you what the exact criteria is, if you just give me 2 seconds to grab it.
Sure.
So to answer your question, and thank you for that question, the RCA was developed by internal health department staff. It was reviewed by procurement and our internal team who look at applications. And so it wasn't that YouthLink, I want to be clear, that YouthLink didn't apply and not have a good application. It wasn't that. It really was just a competitive bid and trying to assess which application scored the highest is really the way that it looked at. It looked at outreach and violence interrupter or peacekeeper patrol initiatives, crime prevention through environmental design, activation and placemaking, increasing access to social services, youth mentoring opportunities, community and police dialogues, employment, certification, education, and trade opportunities, civic engagement opportunities, recreational and outdoor offerings, community events, and healing circles. And so I think that the way that we scored them was trying to look at agencies who were providing the most of these things. So either doing more than one or doing more than one very well. And YouthLink's application was very focused on existing social services. And so they did score high. It was just a matter of trying to figure out, all of the applications that we received were very compelling. Obviously, the work downtown is much needed. And I think that the ultimate decision just came from trying to decide which agencies we could fund with what dollars.
If I may, I appreciate that. I'm not just asking about YouthLink, but some of these other applicants, like, I don't know if Harbor Lights applied, but I certainly appreciate that everything that Hennepin Theater Trust and Mad Dads and everybody's doing here, and the importance of highlighting that work. It's a little bit concerning to me that we don't have some more direct funding relationship in providing shelter to homeless young people, because, well, I believe that would be the greatest level of interruption and stability in provider of services, albeit for less people, certainly, than might be reached in a street event. I also really take to heart the need to create stories and the power in creating stories around one's situation as to how they are living with homelessness, and the kind of hope that can be created through art here. But I do wish that more than internal city staff had developed what criteria we would be using to disperse this money, because this wasn't my own preference in the last budget discussions. This was the level of money. So here on slide 2, this was the level that we should have been at the time. This was that level of guidance that we should have given. And I'll give credit to the authors here. One of them is here in deciding that. But the rest of it, I think we should have been more intentional as to what portion of this might need to have some kind of more direct relationship with a place like Harbor Lights, with a place like YouthLink, with a place that's actually doing this work, and that they are our partners in this. We already do work with them as a city, but leaving existing positive relationships on the table here, I fear, is creating some difficulty in working with those partnerships, some of which are new. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Councilmember Palmisano. Your point is taken very well. And as someone who previously worked for YouthLink, I certainly know at the deep way the importance of the work that they do and the importance of housing for young people who are highly mobile and who are homeless. I think that those are recommendations that we can certainly take under advisement in the next process.
Thank you. I'll put myself in the queue here and say, well, there's a couple of things going on. One is that, this idea of violence prevention investments was kind of piloted through, passed through to the Downtown Council in previous years. That was successful, which was why we wanted to highlight it and make it a more permanent feature of the budget. And the $150,000 for downtown safety really needed to get out the door so that we could start. We knew spring was coming. We knew that some of the specific challenges that happen with downtown safety were going to be starting. And so we put the $150,000 out that's designated for downtown ahead of the other violence prevention funds. And so there are many of the applicants actually had more citywide reach or a scope that wasn't specific to the downtown safety goals that were outlined, and they'll be eligible for those. So one of the things that I would say is that many of the groups that applied for the downtown money and didn't get it should be applying for the other money as it comes out. That's happened on a little bit of a different timeline. And I'll just reaffirm that YouthLink in particular has been a really important part of the overall downtown safety approach. They work very closely with MPD, with all of us. We're at many tables together in terms of the downtown safety strategy, and we appreciate their contribution. So I don't think that it's a reflection on them, in any way that they're not included among the grantees. I will say the grantees are all people I'm very excited about in terms of the contribution that they're making. And it is worth lifting up. This is, I think, evidence of a growing recognition by everybody in the city that we cannot entirely police our way out of some of the concerns that we've had, and that we need to invest in getting upstream, in getting to the circumstances that lead to violence before violence happens, and that there's an opportunity for de-escalation, for activation, for creating a sense of safety and activity that if we are in a position where we have to choose between filling up our city streets with more and more and more police, or filling our city streets with the creativity and passion and resources and love of the whole community, I think we've got a clear path. And I think that the people who are applying for these grants and receiving this money have plans that will make a real impact, that I really appreciate. And I appreciate you lifting up this work today. I really appreciate this presentation. If any of my colleagues have further comments, Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You brought up a couple of stakeholders, and I'm curious, Ms. Cotton, in your slide where you said there was one internal group, 3 external groups, I think there was, were partners like DID and Downtown Council, were they one of those external stakeholder groups, or could you help share more about who those external stakeholder groups were?
Yes, thank you for the question. So we sent out inquiries for people who would be interested in reviewing applications to a wide range of folks that we work with. Shane Zahn from the Downtown Improvement District sits on the executive committee for the Office of Violence Prevention. He was not able to join us in a review session. To my understanding, I will double check on that because there were so many of them happening at the same time. I could have missed his name, but we did share with him for review who we had selected, and he felt comfortable with the applications that we selected.
And Downtown Council? Were they part of the external stakeholder group?
They were extended an invitation. I would have to look back at our notes to see who was participating in all of those. We used a consultant to help us organize them. It's just at this point, our staffing capacity is limited, and so we needed to, on the expedited timeline, work with a consultant to get the applications out the door and reviewed properly. So I don't know the names of every single person who sat on the review panel, but I'm happy to look at them and share that with you. Okay, if there are no further questions, thank you for your time and for allowing us to present on these issues. Have a great day.
Thank you very much. So I will move authorization of the contracts we've just discussed. Is there any further discussion? Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to point out that I feel like these kinds of funding decisions in the future deserve more conversation and more involvement from the people that create them, right? So the policy makers, the committees that are doing the work up here should also be delving in to that next level of detail to do something like create an RFA. It bothers me that some of this the criteria, the scope, wouldn't apply to some of our groups that would provide more direct services, albeit to a smaller number of people, but that makes them fall out of the scope and the criteria of this type of money. And I would just like to have further discussion about that in the future. So I reluctantly agree to this today.
So noted. With that, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? That carries, and with no further business before us, we are adjourned.